and welcome back to Seek the Joy podcast. Happy Seek the Joy Tuesday. I'm your host, Sydney Weiss, and today I am so excited to share with you another guest episode. I was on the Quest for New Inspiration podcast last year, and I just loved connecting with Katie and having this conversation with her. KT Maschler is an incredible host. She has an amazing podcast, The Quest for New Inspiration, and she started her podcast at a time when she really needed some inspiration herself. And today, her goal is to share inspirational stories from all types of people in the hopes of inspiring anyone that presses play. And she is totally doing that. Also, by sharing her podcast, she is challenging herself to improve her confidence while also growing her podcasting and networking skills. And I really enjoyed sitting down with her and having this conversation. We bonded on so many different things. And in this episode, we really discuss what has inspired my journey and the importance of staying patient and trusting yourself. And if you've been around Seek the Joy for any amount of time, you know that stay patient and trust your journey has been my mantra since like 2014. So this was a super fun one to do and to record. And I'm so excited to share it with you on the podcast this week. Now more than ever, I just think it's so important that we have reliable resources that we can turn to. And that's where today's sponsor, BetterHelp, comes in. So I would love to share with you a little bit more about BetterHelp. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. And it's easy and free to change counselors if you don't think the person you've matched with is a good fit. And no matter where you're listening to Seek the Joy podcast right now, you can also use BetterHelp because the service is available for people worldwide too. I just think it's so valuable to talk to someone about what it is that you're going through, whether that's anxiety, depression, grief, loss, changes at work, or friendship dynamics or relationships, or you want to talk about the challenges of the last couple of years. And BetterHelp offers a broad range of expertise in their counselor network. So you'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions too, which I still think is a game changer. I really want you to live a happier, more joyful, and just ease-filled life. That's why I share these conversations with you. And so I'm just excited to share that as a listener of Seek the Joy podcast, you will get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/seekthejoy. Join over 1 million people and counting, taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/seekthejoy. The link will also be included in our show notes. As always, I cannot wait to hear what you think about this one, so make sure to join the conversation on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We are at Seek the Joy Podcast everywhere. It is a total brand new experience for me to share episodes with you all where I'm not the host and I'm the guest. And I just really hope to continue to share and spotlight incredible podcasters in this space. And I just always feel so lucky when I get to be on somebody else's podcast and share a bit about my journey and my experiences that go well beyond, being a podcaster. So I just know you're going to love Katie. She is just an incredible host and person, and I just loved connecting with her. So Katie, thank you for not only having me on the Quest for New Inspiration, but also for the opportunity to share a conversation here this week on Seek the Joy. So without further ado, let's dive into this one. My guest episode on the Quest for New Inspiration. Stay patient and trust your journey.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Quest for New Inspiration. My name is KT Maschler, and this week I had the opportunity to sit down with Sydney Weiss. Not only is she a lawyer, but she is also the host of 2 podcasts, the Seek the Joy podcast and the Stories of Inspiring Joy. I am so excited for you guys to hear this episode. Sydney was an absolute gem, and I can't wait for her to inspire you as much as she's inspired me.
So, my name is Sydney Weiss, and I am a lawyer, but I'm also the host and producer behind two podcasts. The first is Seek the Joy podcast, and the other is Stories of Inspiring Joy. And I started Seek the Joy podcast. It'll be 4 years in October, which is really hard to believe. I started Seek the Joy after I sort of went through like a big metamorphosis within myself. So in 2016, about a month before I graduated from law school, I had shingles, which at 25 felt like really foreign. Like you see commercials for like 60 and over getting a shingle vaccine, and I'm 25 with shingles. And that should have been like my first sign, like, you're probably like a little too stressed. Yes. And then I graduate from law school. I sit for the California bar exam, which is a 10-week, very intense studying experience. And at the time, the bar was 3 days in California. And I came out of that experience probably the most unwell I had ever been in my life, mentally, physically, emotionally. A month later, I had to have an emergency appendectomy. I had to have my appendix removed. Like, you're starting to notice a pattern here. Like, things kept happening. And then it all culminated in not passing the bar exam in November 2016. And I had this moment where I was like so fatigued, so drained, really like in a bad place mentally, physically, emotionally, all the things. And I realized like something needed to shift. And I went through this sort of 9-month metamorphosis and journey, shifting the way I was eating, the way I spoke to myself, how I viewed the bar exam. I like went from being in such deep fear to being like, I'm going to conquer you. Like, you're not going to conquer me. And so by the time I sat for the bar the second time in July 2017, I was a totally different person. And I came out of that being like, I want to connect with other people who had similar stories or experiences or just wanted to be vulnerable and have a conversation. And that's what I did. I launched Seek the Joy podcast like in October 2017. 2 months later, I found out I passed the bar. So my journey of being a lawyer, thank you. My journey of being a lawyer and also a podcaster and all the things that come with it have really existed simultaneously. And throughout this journey, I just continue to learn so much about myself and expand my comfort zone completely. And like just it's been an incredible opportunity for connection and growth and all of the things. So that's it's like a snippet of my story. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I have so many comments. First of all, I am so impressed. Your podcast alone is amazing. I love
Oh,
it so much.
thank you.
Just like the time, 4 years, that's so impressive. Like normally
It
it's
feels
like
like
10.
16. Like, it
Yeah.
feels like much longer. Yeah, 4 years. I don't know. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna celebrate. Every year I try and find a way to celebrate, and I'm gonna have to figure it out this year.
Yes.
It'll be fun to
Celebrate
figure
up
out.
big for sure.
Mhm.
And then being a lawyer is definitely one of my pipe dreams for sure. If I could have done anything without just like going to school, I would
Yeah.
have done that like just magically. And honestly, like I can say it now, just like looking back, I chickened out of doing the LSAT, like purely out of fear that I was gonna fail. Like I
Mhm.
knew that I could have done it, like probably, but I let my anxiety chicken out of it. So I'm
Mm.
just so impressed. And I love
Oh,
like your journey from like going through it and like not doing as well the first time and then like conquering it fully the second time. That's amazing.
I understand completely what you're saying about, like, your anxiety and having this moment of like, "Oh, is that something I should have done? Like, I really would have liked to have done it." I am someone that for my whole life, I've had major, like, performance anxiety. When I sat for the ACT, I had a full-blown panic attack, like, in the middle of the exam, and then when I sat for the LSAT, I, like, panicked again, and then in my first year in law school, I was sitting in my civil procedure final and totally panicked, like blanked. Like I didn't even know where I was. I had panicked so much. And part of my journey through law school and then with the bar was really like facing that level of anxiety and really facing that level of performance anxiety and realizing no matter how I show up on an exam or a test or in life, it doesn't matter because what matters is like who I am and how I approach things and how I treat myself and how I treat other people. And I had to make this big sort of shift from like basing my self-worth on those external things and basing it more so on the internal. And through doing that work and like it's like heavy lifting. It's not easy, but I somehow shifted that level of anxiety in the moment with those exams and how I was going to perform. And because I'm with you. Like, I still have things I think about, like, should I have done that? Like, did I chicken out? Like, should I have done this thing? But it's so interesting. I feel like we end up on the path that we're supposed to be on.
Yeah.
And you can always revisit those dreams. They don't go away. They don't go away.
Is there a specific thing that inspired you to like go to law school? Because that's like a big task in itself, just
Huge.
deciding that.
It's a big decision. I am one of those people that, like, at 12, I sort of declared to anybody and everyone that would listen, like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to go to law school. And I actually remember the moment I was telling my parents this, and they both looked at me and they're like, okay, like, are you sure? Like, that's really what you want to do? And I just had made that choice. And I think in a lot of ways, I was always a very creative kid and a very creative person. And there was part of me that always felt like I needed to be more serious. And like, what is more serious than being a lawyer? But ultimately, and this is actually something I only realized in the last year, the reason I went to law school is I wanted to be an advocate. Like, I wanted to advocate for others, and I also wanted to advocate for myself. And the biggest example of advocacy that I could think of was being a lawyer, going to law school. That's like a very traditional model of advocacy. And it's actually really very cool and interesting. I've realized and learned through the podcast, like, you can be an advocate through storytelling. You can be an advocate through not only sharing your story, but providing a space for others to share their own, these empathetic, compassionate, intentional spaces to share and to connect. And so I feel like I'm still doing that advocacy work, but in a way through the podcast that is like really me, like very authentically me. And don't get me wrong, like being a lawyer is super rewarding, and I work in entertainment, so I'm a contractual lawyer. Like, I don't do litigation, I'm not in a courtroom, but the podcast has just afforded me that other angle of advocacy and connection that I think I was probably really yearning for at 12, and I just didn't know how to name it.
Okay, so I have a random side question that I just have
Yeah.
to ask you. Have you ever heard of the podcast Sinisterhood? Sinisterhood?
No, I don't
Okay,
think I
you
have.
have to listen to it. One of the hosts is, well, she's a comedian, a lawyer, and a podcaster, and they talk about true crime. She is delightful,
Oh
and
my God.
she is so great. Like, seriously, look
Okay,
her up.
I'm gonna look it up. The minute you and I stop talking, I'm
Immediately.
gonna immediately go look it up. That sounds
Actually,
awesome.
listen, everybody, listen to episode 13. I think it's the disappearance of Ben something. It is
Okay.
hilarious. I was rolling on my floor laughing. So,
Oh, I
so
love
good.
this. I love these shows that bring like humor and comedy to
Mhm.
darker subjects because they can
Yeah.
get real dark real quick. And you're like, where's the levity? Like, there has to be some. So, okay, I'm gonna look it up. This is a great recommendation.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So, where do you go when you're lacking inspiration, like on just like a daily basis? Say on like a Monday, you're like having it, not feeling the day, and you're just needing some inspiration. Where would you go?
I honestly, in those moments where I feel that way, it's like a big signal and a big cue that I need a break. Like, I need rest. I need time away from the screen. And admittedly, I am terrible at those things. Like, I am a worker bee. If I get an idea, I run with it. I don't know how to like sit still. Like, it's not in my nature. But when moments where I feel like the creativity, the ideas, everything is lacking, like, I really do need to step away. And so what I do is like I literally leave all the computers and devices behind. I go on a walk, I spend time with family. I guess this is not leaving a device if I'm watching Netflix, but like, just doing something where I'm not using my brain in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Conversations with friends, and allowing myself to sort of explore my own creativity. That could be painting. Last year, I started beading bracelets. Like, I was back at summer camp. Like, this is like a mid pandemic hobby that came to light. Like, just anything that kind of just lets me peel back a little bit and just like dive into that element of creativity has been so huge for me. But like, it's so weird. Like, ideas will hit me at the most random times. Like, if I'm in the shower, I get an idea. Or like, there have been moments where I can't sleep and at 5 a.m. I have this like big idea of something I want to do. I think we have to just not focus too hard on like where the creativity is or where did it go. Like, it will pop back in like when we least expect it. I think if we give ourselves that space that we need.
Oof, I went deep into that craft hole in COVID. Like
Okay, so what did you do?
I puff painted like jean jackets, I
Oh my
bedazzled
God.
cups, like I was bedazzling just random things. Like my cats
That's
have
the best.
bedazzled collars. It's ridiculous.
Honestly,
Okay.
though, but it's the best because, like, I'm sure you felt like you were reconnecting to like
Yeah.
a part of you that was like probably when you were a kid or like you left behind in some ways. Like we all need that. It's so funny. I was cleaning out a cabinet. I discovered all these jewels to bedazzle. Like I have a whole big thing. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with these? And now you're giving me an idea. Like maybe I put it on a jacket or
A
something
jacket.
that I
Yeah.
will probably never wear, but just the act of doing it is so much fun.
Yeah. Put a Netflix show on or some music or a podcast.
Yes.
Get to go in.
Yes, you got it.
Okay, last few questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
No,
Do
all
you
good.
have any particular people who like inspire you just like on a day-to-day basis?
That is such a good question and actually very difficult for me to answer because I feel like I get inspiration from every single person I meet. For me, like the connecting is an art, like, it's a pastime, it's like it's something that really excites me. Anytime I get to talk to somebody new and meet somebody new, and especially in the last year, like, Zoom has been my saving grace. In moments where I, like, wouldn't have talked to anybody new otherwise, like, it's just been so much fun with the podcast, especially to meet new people, and so those conversations, I think, really inspire me. Um, and this is gonna sound so corny, but, like, just even scrolling on Instagram and seeing people share, like, where they're at in their this level of vulnerability or something that inspired them, it inspires me to keep sharing and to keep going, especially in moments where I'm like, "Do I feel like doing this today? Does this still feel good?" Like, you just never know, I think, where that inspiration is gonna come from, but for me, it just comes from somebody new every day. Like, I met this woman this morning, and she was telling me about how, like, one of her favorite hobbies is dancing, and it really made me think, like, do I enjoy dancing? Like, is that something I could try and do? Like, there was a time during the pandemic where I was taking these, like, Zumba dance classes that I actually totally forgot about, so she's inspired me now to go back and revisit that, so you just never know, like, where it's gonna come from.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Okay,
Me too,
one
because
last
I wanna go back to those classes, and I completely forgot about
Zumba is a
them.
really good workout. You should
They
really
were,
do
like, very early quarantine, like, we're talking March, April, like, I
that.
actually forgot what that time was like completely, so
All of
no
us
wonder
just
I
blacked out. All of
100% it's gone. It's just gone from the
blacked it out.
memory. Mhm.
I was
Yes.
doing some crazy, probably like Broadway singing down my stairs by myself. Like it
Oh
was
my god.
not good.
No, it's great though. Oh my god, I love music from Broadway.
Yes.
Broadway musicals, like, do
I
you have a favorite? Because
um
like, I could rattle off some of mine,
I
but
know, like
I'm curious
Wicked,
what are yours?
Lion
Yes.
King. I've been I've been listening to Funny Girl a lot recently. I
Mm.
don't know
Mm,
why. It's so good. Okay.
it's so good. I love the music from Waitress, and obviously
Oh,
Hamilton is, like, next
yes.
level, but yeah, I mean, I have moments even Dear Evan Hansen, which is, like, a newer favorite of mine, but yeah, I'm with you.
The movie's coming out soon as well.
I'm gonna cry the whole time. I will cry that entire like, I don't know if I can go to a theater. Like, people will be looking at me like, "This chick is randomly crying nonstop."
It's okay. It'll be okay. Okay, one last piece of advice that you have to share, inspirational or not.
I think it's there's something that I come back to and I share with myself often, which is twofold. It's one, stay patient and trust your journey, and that's actually been the background of my phone. I was gonna show you, but my phone is full of too many notifications, but it's been my iPhone background since 2014 because I'm somebody that, like, wants the thing right away, and so it's about staying patient, which is a journey to do, and then trusting your path and trusting how it's all gonna unfold. That's been something I guess you could say it's like a mantra or an affirmation that I've really held on to. And I think part of that, I guess the advice I would share within that mantra is no experience is wasted. Like you and I were talking at the very beginning, like how you wanted to go to law school and all these things. And you may have moments in life where you question what it is that you're doing and why are you doing it and did I make the right choice? And the truth is no experience is wasted. Everything is a tool in your toolbox. You have no idea where that path is going to take you. So just continue to follow your inspiration, follow your joy, follow what excites you. And I think it will lead you to where you're meant to be. So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, and also I wanted to tell you, and then I will let you go. I know like part of the podcast has a lot to do with your grandpa and sharing stories. And my grandpa passed away in October 2020. You can't really see. I've got a bunch of pictures of him behind me. But I just wanted you to know I was really, really touched by your episode about it, and just how it continues, I think, to
You're gonna make
fuel
me
you.
cry.
Oh, please. Well, it's okay if you cry, but
I cry with kittens, so it's fine.
so I just want you to know, like, there's a reason that you're doing this, and I think a lot of it is just like honoring, like that relationship and him and all those beautiful things. So I just want you to know, from someone else who also lost somebody, my grandpa last year. It just, I'm gonna cry now too. It really touched me. It really, really touched me. So keep going. Don't
Thank you
stop.
so much. That means
You're
so
welcome. You're welcome. You're
much.
welcome. So, okay, well, I'm giving you a big virtual
Yes,
hug.
big virtual
So
hug.
awkward through the screen.
You were seriously full of so much inspiration. I've had a blast talking with
Me
you.
too. Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to share all about you and your podcast on Stories of Inspiring Joy, which is our sister podcast, pretty soon. So this was fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
And that is it for this week's episode. Thank you again for listening to my little podcast. It seriously means the world to me that you even pressed play in the first place. Be sure to follow my inspiring guests on all their social media platforms, as well as the Quest for New Inspiration on Instagram, of course. And as of this week, we officially have a Twitter. So go make sure to follow New Inspiration Pod on Twitter, as well as leave a review and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really does make a world of difference. Thank you so much, and be sure to tune in next time.
Seek the Joy podcast is a production of Seek the Joy Media and created, produced, and hosted by me, Sydney Weiss. You can tune into all of our episodes on your favorite podcast platform, and if you're enjoying the show, hit follow and leave us a 5-star rating and review. Make sure to join the community, join the conversation on our social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. We are at Seek the Joy Podcast everywhere, and don't forget, you can actually watch today's new episode and all of our episodes on our brand new YouTube channel. Click that link in the show notes to subscribe and tune in. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you right back here next week for another Seek the Joy Tuesday.